This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
What's going on, guys? This is VinylicPuma, and today I want to go ahead and showcase my ultimate or best robot or Automatron, whatever we want to call it, companion build with you guys. This will mostly be a melee build, so for those of you that are looking for more of a ranged build, don't worry, I am working on one of those as well. Now, I think I've got what might be the best option available to the player that requires no mods, so you don't have to have the PC version or anything like that. Ultimately, what I was going for here was something that moves quickly, hits like a truck, and has a decent amount of health to boot. I also designed this robot around inflicting bleed damage to enemies, as that's really the way to go with your melee robots and even your melee character builds in Fallout 4. And I would say that the result is something that is quite powerful. The Mark I version of this build can kill a Mythic DEATHCLAW by itself on normal mode, while the Mark II version can kill a Mythic DEATHCLAW on the current survival mode difficulty. Now, I say current survival mode difficulty because there's supposedly a new survival mode update that's supposed to come out in like a week or two or something like that, and that may result in some balance changes. Even still, I would still say that the Mark II is still probably going to be your best option for survival mode. Before I get into what specific components we're going to need, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what perks are required here. You will need at least an armorer perk of level 3, and actually you'll need an armor perk of level 4 for the Mark II version, a blacksmith perk of level 3, a robot expert perk level of 2 or higher, and a science perk level of 1 or higher. It's also worth mentioning that certain components used here have similar versions with lower perk requirements, and I'll also go over those later on in the video. Some of the pieces also required can't be crafted until you beat the DLC. And some of those I think are the Warmonger pieces that I'm going to go over further on in the video, which, by the way, also have very high perk level and character level requirements in order to craft. Alright, so with all of that out of the way, our core components are going to be a Mr. Handy torso combined with ASSAULTRON arms and legs. And there are a couple of reasons for this. The first is that both the Mr. Handy torso and ASSAULTRON legs have the highest movement speed of any other torso and leg pieces. The second reason is because the ASSAULTRON arms have the highest melee damage, and the third reason is that for whatever reason, and I can't really figure this out, the torso and leg combination, particularly the Mr. Handy and ASSAULTRON leg combination, seems to get staggered significantly less. Now, I've tried things like the SentryBot legs or the RoboBrain torso, which both have more health, but I get staggered and the Mythic DEATHCLAW just destroys my robot. And it's kind of bizarre considering that SentryBots are supposed to be tanks, but, you know, it is what it is. At this point, the rest of your components are going to be craftable depending on your level. I'll go ahead and I'll say now that if you aren't at least level 29 with proper perk investment, you can't build the Mark I version that is going to kill a Mythic DEATHCLAW. However, you can build a lesser but similar version. So for example, the standard saw blades and VOLTAIC armor pieces can be crafted at level 16 and 13 respectively with proper perk investment, and only require a blacksmith and armorer perk of level 2. These can be used to replace the hydraulic armor pieces and hammer saw blades, and they work fairly well at lower levels. The Mark I, however, is essentially all hydraulic plates for the highest damage resistance possible, hammer saw blades for the highest melee damage, with some bleed damage as well. And then, of course, I've added a Tesla coil add-on, which is meant to stack with the bleed damage that you are already dealing. It's also worth mentioning that the Tesla coil, if your character, or I'm sorry, your robot companion becomes incapacitated, the Tesla coil will still be active and deal damage. I will say, though, if you want, you can replace this with the resistance field to further improve your energy and damage resistances, or you can place another mod here that you like. I just recommend you avoid something that like increases perception, as that's really not going to be that necessary. As mentioned earlier, the perk requirements for this are relatively high, as they require at least a level 3 in both the Armorer and Blacksmith perk. This means you will need to be at least level 29 in order to have your very own Mythic DEATHCLAW killer robot / Automatron companion. That's actually pretty good, considering that Mythic DEATHCLAWs are supposed to appear around level 70 to 80 or so, maybe even into the 90s. Another piece of good news is that this only requires 4 strength on your character to pull off, because you only need 4 strength to have the Armorer and Blacksmith perk. Now, the Mark II version requires you to be at least level 39 and have an Armorer perk level of 4 with proper perk investment. The big difference between the Mark I and the Mark II is that the Mark II features Warmonger serrated or spiked armor pieces, which further increases your bleed damage. And of course, these are going to replace some of your hydraulic pieces, or your hydraulic armor pieces. It's worth mentioning that this does decrease your defense. However, in my mind, the key to winning battles in survival mode is to kill whatever it is in front of you as fast as possible, and not tank any damage. Now, this robot overall does have some weaknesses. First off, it's primarily a melee robot, and it does need to be close to an enemy in order to deal that bleed damage that stacks to ridiculous levels. Up against certain ranged enemies, this can be a problem. And another thing that's worth mentioning is because this isn't really designed to take an insane amount of damage or just hits in general, this thing will probably get incapacitated by really heavy weapons like your Fat Man launchers, your missile launchers, and anything that deals like tons of explosive damage. I would say, though, that the general rule here is if your power armor isn't going to like taking that much damage and still be durable, your Automatron or robot companion isn't probably going to like it either. The hydraulic armor pieces also require a lot of ceramic, rubber, and steel to craft. Each armor piece costs roughly 8 of each, and 4 adhesive on top of that. So you're looking at 8 steel, 8 rubber, 8 ceramic, and 4 adhesive for each piece. And yeah, while the damage resistance is worth it in my mind, these components can be hard to acquire depending on where you ultimately decided to build your robot workstation. Speaking of damage resistances, the Mark II Warmonger pieces have less damage resistance than the hydraulic pieces. This means that while you can deal way more damage with these equipped, you're still vulnerable to taking a little more damage as well. So just be wary of that, especially in survival mode, if that's the difficulty you prefer to play at. Another thing that I should go ahead and mention here is that this thing has very low carry weight at just like 170 pounds. Now, this can or can't be a deal breaker to you. In my opinion, I would say, would you rather have the ability to kill a Mythic DEATHCLAW, or would you rather have the ability to carry a lot of stuff? If you want to carry a lot of stuff, you can swap out some armor pieces. However, it is going to make this thing a little bit weaker. So in summary, if you're looking for a powerful melee robot or Automatron companion, I think this is really going to be your best option. The nice thing is that you can swap certain parts depending on your level for better damage as you go, while the core build pretty much is the same thing throughout the game. Something else that's worth mentioning is that you could feasibly mod Cogsworth into a psycho murderous death bot if you want. I also think that you can mod Curie as well, although you'll have to do that before you turn her into something more lifelike. Now, I am only saying that because I'm trying not to spoil the game, even though I've probably spoiled the game anyway, so crap. Anyway, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this build video. Let me know if you guys like this and if you want to see more. As always, if you like the video, please be sure to leave a like. As always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.